Hello YouTube. I woke up this morning to a cold house. My inverter quit. I came downstairs and it was 66 or 67. And the code I was getting was that the compressor failed to start. A 430, I believe. Compressor start failure. If this occurs 10 times in a 1 hour period, the outdoor unit is locked out. My outdoor unit was locked out. It said to check the connections, ohm out the compressor. Could be a rock loader. Things like that, you know, it just tries to start and it pulls too many amps. I watched it try to start after I reset it this morning, and it only pulled just a few amps, but then it would quit. I guess it knows what it's doing, or at least that's all it, you know, showed up in the time frame that I could see it on the screen. So I had to leave and go take care of other people, of course. So when I came home, I set it down to like 65 so my electric heat wouldn't. Well, let me back up. The reason it was so cold is I had my electric heat locked out down to like 10 degrees because the inverter's been doing a great job and I hadn't been able to, you know, need it. So I run that lockout up and set it on about 65. When I came home, it was 65, and I cut it up a couple degrees and checked, and the compressor was running normally. So I came out here to check. Of course, it's almost dark. But what I found when I got out here was it worked perfectly all the way up to 100%. So I ohmed out the crankcase heater, thinking what could cause it to work, you know, when it was warm and not when it was cold. And the crankcase heater is open. So I had no crankcase heat. It's a 530. I won't be able to get one tonight. I don't have one this large. I have one for a smaller diameter compressor on the truck. So I looked at Lowe's and Walmart online to see if they had just some heat tape I could wrap around it for tonight until I can get a heater, and they did not. That we've had some cold weather here, and I think they must have sold them all out. So what I have done is try to come up with something else I can use. This baby is 50 watts. So it's 10 watts warmer than my crankcase heater was. I'm going to wrap it around the compressor and put the blanket back on it and leave it plugged in the wall up there until such a time as I can get me a crankcase heater and see if that takes care of the problem. Okay, got her set on high, which should be 50 watts. Got her tucked up under the compressor blanket. I'm going to button it back up and hope for the best. Okay, it's counting down to start up. It was started out at 5, I think. It's on 1 right now. And hopefully it'll take off here and start running, and that little heating pad will keep me warm enough until I can get a crankcase heater. The crankcase heater's dumb on these things. It just hooked to the power coming in down here on the bottom of this little contactor. And then it has a little thermostat clamped to the liquid line that brings it on whenever the liquid line is cold. I had to lay the phone down quick and pick up my DeWalt. I noticed when I was looking at the fan motor waiting on it to come on, I had not put the screws in it. So about the time I got the first screw started, it come on. So got it just in time. It doesn't start very fast though. The display should be telling us the heat demand is 61% right now. The fan is running 650 RPMs. That's out of 800. Peak 61. Fan 650. Era 425. 425, I think, means that it's running faster than the thermostat would really be calling for in order to get oil return. 425. Outdoor control has increased minimum compressor speed to allow for proper oil return due to low ambient temperatures. So I'm going to button it up with the heating pad turned on down here, and hopefully it'll keep me running until I get a crankcase heater. Okay, she's up and running. You can tell by that third line down, it's running at 88% of capacity out there. which is why I like an inverter on zoning, because I'm only running the one zone right now. And I think its airflow is 675 CFM. So on less than 2 tons of airflow, I'm getting almost 4 tons of heat pump at this moment, because it knows it needs a lot because it's cool in here. The heat sink on the inverter board is getting warmer and warmer. It's up to 60 degrees now. Compressor hertz running at 46. Let's see. The input current is 13.6. That's what you'd get if you put a amp meter on the actual line coming in. And then it says the actual compressor current's 14.4. That's because it's going through that inverter board, so it'll be different. But hopefully in the morning I'll still have heat, and I'll know that that was my problem all along. Just goes to show that even with a complex piece of equipment like an inverter, all it takes is a $4 crankcase heater to cause problems. Well, next morning it's like 1 or 2 degrees warmer than it was yesterday morning. It says the ambient's 23 out there, but it's heating away 100%. Pulling 11, well, I guess 12.19 amps coming in. Running at 52 hertz, which is pretty much almost 100%. I've seen this thing go to 105% before. So I think it was just a crankcase heater. Supply House is going to be trying to get me one. It looks like the only unit they use that particular heater on is a inverter, so I'm not sure what's special about it, but hopefully I can get one quick. Ordered the crankcase heater yesterday. They didn't have it in stock, of course, but ambient's 15 outside, and it's running 105%. 13.6 amps is what it's pulling. So I guess that's about all it'll ever pull. I never even put the 45 amp breaker on it. It still has the 30 amp that was in the panel when I had the 2 ton sitting there. So I guess it really doesn't need a 45 amp breaker. Hey guys, I got the new crankcase heater the first of the week. They didn't have it in stock. They had to order it, so it took a couple of days to get. But in the meantime, the little heating pad's still working down here. We've had snow, rain, all sorts of weather, but it kept it running, so I'm certain that was what the problem was. I'm going to check this new one, make sure it's good, and stick it on there. You can make this one pull some amps, and it gets warm to the touch, so the other one just wouldn't get warm at all. I've got it wrapped around the probe up here a couple times so you can get a respectable reading on a 40 watt on 240 volt heater, but this one should take care of it. And there's my redneck crankcase heater. I pulled the blanket back. I'm getting ready to take it off so I can put the new heater on. Okay, got the new one clamped around the compressor, and the ground hooks up there on the terminal block up there on the side of it. That's the hardest part to reach. The thing's so tall. But I'll get the bag put back on it, and then I can route these wires back where they used to be and tie them all back together. Okay, she's all buttoned back up. You can see you get about 0.16 amps with one loop around it. Of course, every time you loop it, it doubles the actual amount. So I had it, I think, 4 times a second ago just to be able to see that you could see it. But the heater's actually on. I think the little thermostat that's on the liquid line down here comes on whenever it's below carriers. Anytime it's below 70 degrees, it cuts the crankcase heater on. So it's on right now. Should be good and warm. The heating pad is not much worse for wire, although it looks like I did have a little crease in it there. So it got super hot in that one spot. Turned it a little discolored. So it's probably not a good idea to reuse this for anything other than an emergency crankcase heater now. But it served its purpose and got me through some cold times while I waited on a part. So I'm going to pick up tools and call it a day. Thanks for watching.